All right, good morning, everyone. This is Sarjeet. You are probably either watching this in our Facebook group, Business Analysts and Scrum Master in Demand, or our Facebook or our YouTube channel. And today, the topic of our live training is going to be Business Analyst role versus Scrum Master role. And then I'll also cover the hybrid role that lots of organizations are working in. So at any time, if you guys have any questions, those that are watching me live, please post your questions or say them out loud. And then for those, if you're watching this as a replay, please let me know that you're watching this as a replay. And then any questions you have can go into the comments, and I'll go back and review comments and answer any of your questions. So with that, let's get started. So a quick intro to me, Sarabjit Daya. I've been in this industry for about 16, 17 plus years in various roles as a business analyst, as a Scrum Master, as a project manager, and now most recently as a program manager. I still work full-time in the industry, and I absolutely love what I do and the industry that I'm in. And I'm a coach and a mentor, and I've helped so many people transition into the business analyst, Scrum Master, and even project management roles, because I absolutely think that this is a career choice that is really fulfilling, and I absolutely love it. So why not help people be and have the career choice that I've created for myself? So that's just a quick intro of me. So the topic today, as I said a little bit earlier, is going to be the business analyst role versus a Scrum Master. And then I'll also cover the hybrid role. And then towards the end, we'll also look at some job descriptions. We'll do a quick search on LinkedIn for positions. And because I feel like if you are in the process of interviewing, and as you're applying for these positions, it's important to understand which positions you're interviewing for, whether you're going for a business analyst role, for a Scrum Master, or somewhere in the middle, which is a hybrid role, and how to prep for your interviews sufficiently, right? Because it makes sense. Obviously, you want to highlight the skill set based on what your organization is doing, so to make sure that you stand a better chance of interviewing. So with that said, as I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me. I'm going to start to share my screen. I have a few slides that I want to cover with you guys today, and then we'll search up some job descriptions on LinkedIn. So with that, let me share my screen. And okay, here. So as we know, business analysts are generally in the waterfall scenario, right? And generally, what we see is this within the software development lifecycle, which includes waterfall and agile. So a lot of times, a major misconception is that the SDLC is only for waterfall. The SDLC, which is a software development lifecycle, encompasses waterfall, agile, Kanban, a lot of any way that we have established that we can implement projects is the software development lifecycle. Based on where you are, whether you're working as a business analyst or going for a business analyst role or a Scrum Master role, or, again, in another methodology, each of these methodologies have a different way that you work, right? As a business analyst in the waterfall scenario, this is typically what our SDLC looks like. We have a planning phase, we have analysis, we have design, we have implementation, which is programming/coding, we have testing, and then we have maintenance, right? And in the waterfall scenario, business analysts work in a very linear approach, which means that they do some activities during planning, some during analysis, some during design, and majority of those in testing, and slightly a little bit during maintenance. And so you see some stars that I have identified in analysis, design, testing, and maintenance. And this is where business analyst, if you're working as a business analyst, this is where you will be most active, right? Most of the business analysts in analysis, this is where you're creating gathering requirements and creating your business requirements or your functional requirements. In design, this is where you're working with your stakeholders and UI, UX design folks to create prototypes to make sure that everything is in alignment. During testing, this is where you're either monitoring QA testing and or leading UAT sessions. And then in maintenance, this is oftentimes where, as soon as we cut over, business analysts are generally monitoring stabilization, meaning we're monitoring to see if there's any production defects that may arise. And if so, working with the business teams and our development teams to identify a resolution. So in a nutshell, business analyst roles, they're very, very linear, right? You do your requirements only when requirements are done, then you work on your design. Only when design is done, we work on implementation. Then we do testing, which is verification, and then we go into the maintenance mode. So that in a nutshell is, as a business analyst, you're mostly active in some of these phases, which lend themselves well to what your day-to-day responsibilities will be. So oftentimes, students ask me, hey, Sarabjit, what is the day-to-day job of a business analyst? And my answer most of the time is, well, it depends. It depends on where your project is at that particular time. And as you guys may know, business analysts may be assigned to more than one project at a time, right? And if that's the case, it depends what your day-to-day looks like, will depend on where in the life cycle you are for that particular project, right? Because if you're in testing, then most of the time you're going to be dealing with monitoring, either QA testing or UAT testing and helping your business stakeholders get across. And if there's any defects that are found, working with developers to get those fixed, and your stakeholders to make sure that they're retesting. But if you're in analysis, for example, then your day-to-day is going to look like more or less scheduling interview sessions, working with your stakeholders, creating workflow diagrams and such. So again, your day-to-day will change based on where you are in the life cycle. So any questions on business analyst before I start talking about Scrum Master domain? Okay, so great. So for a Scrum Master role, and as I've mentioned a little bit earlier, there's what I call the hybrid approach as well. But let's talk about first traditional Scrum Master. This, traditional Scrum Master, this is again a diagram that I've got from Google, not created by myself. But if you Google what is a Scrum Master role or what is done in that environment, this is, you'll find something very, very typical, right? And what this identifies for us, let me make this a little bit bigger for you guys to see over here. So what this showcases to us is how projects and what the activities are for a particular Scrum Master. So generally, these are the ways that we implement projects. We often have a product backlog, which is a running list of functionality, not generally aligned to when those things are going to be implemented, but generally aligned to anything that we may have out there, right? Then we have a sprint planning meeting. Then we have a sprint backlog that's a result of the sprint planning meeting. Then we have a sprint for, typically 2 weeks, but it's typical to see anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks. Generally, we see 2 to 3 week sprint cycles just because it gives us enough time to do the work. But this is where development is happening during that cycle, whether it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we have daily Scrum sessions, and then the work is finished, right? So what this shows us is what the role of a Scrum Master is, because the Scrum Master is essentially managing all of these activities for the project team. So where, as a business analyst, right, we are only highly involved in certain activities, right? And a project manager is one that is managing the end-to-end life cycle of a project in the waterfall scenario. What we see in the Scrum environment is that it's the Scrum Master that's managing the end-to-end on a sprint cycle and making sure that our product backlog is is ripe. When I say ripe, means that our user stories, we have backlog grooming sessions where our user stories are ready for us to take on to the next sprint. So the key difference that I see with the waterfall with a business analyst is that, again, we are managing within the different phases, certain areas of the project, and not entirely have ownership of the end-to-end of the SDLC, whereas our Scrum Masters are mostly playing a coordination role to make sure that our team members are participating and that our Scrum teams are getting the work done and making sure that the upcoming work is also being ready. So I see the Scrum Master as a little bit somebody that needs to be a little bit technical, as well as more of a coordination role to make sure that the team is progressing. All of these activities that need to take place are taking place, and that all team members are coordinated, connected, and moving together. So this is what a Scrum Master role is. Any questions for me before I start to talk about the hybrid approach? Okay. All right. So now we have something called a hybrid role. And those are things that I call the wild, wild west, only because in a hybrid approach, this is where organizations are in the middle of doing this and doing this. So this is where organizations have the desire to be agile because of the benefits that agile provides, but are not necessarily able to transition completely to this cycle. And based on my experience and understanding, it takes changing to an agile environment is not something that can happen overnight, especially for organizations that have been around for many, many years, because it's a complete mindset of not just how work is being done, but how the organization will function, how the organization needs to be set up for success, how teams are set up. So it's a really, really big change for organizations. And oftentimes we find that, organizations that are trying to align to Scrum, it takes some time. So that time could sometimes be 6 months, could sometimes be 2 years, could sometimes be longer than that. So majority of the jobs that we're seeing in the environment today are organizations that are hybrid, right? They're kind of doing something in Agile, they're kind of doing something in Waterfall. And what that does is it creates a environment where you may see that in a Scrum team that you have a PM. Generally, we don't have PMs on Scrum teams. Generally, you may see that there's a BA on a Scrum team. Generally, we don't have BAs on Scrum teams, right? So you may see different roles and responsibilities that are created just to make sure that we can align to the Scrum environment slightly, and then also make sure that we're doing all the bells and whistles that we need to do in the waterfall scenario. So this is where I get a lot of questions about, hey, Sarabjit, so if I am going for a Scrum Master position and there's a BA on the team, what is the role of a BA on a Scrum team? And generally, again, as I say with the caveat, generally, what that means is that the business analyst, for example, if there is a business analyst on a Scrum team, they're primarily going to be responsible for meeting with stakeholders and the product owner to create and draft user stories and requirements, right? What are user stories? User stories are nothing more than requirements. In a waterfall scenario, we have BRDs and FRDs, right, as requirements. In the Scrum environment, those are user stories. They're, nothing different. It's just a way that we write requirements. So then the other question I get is, okay, so if there's a project manager in the Scrum environment in the hybrid approach, what is the job of a project manager? And again, typically what that means is the project manager may be seeing the end-to-end project release versus where the Scrum Master is managing at the sprint level. You may have a PM that's overseeing the many different sprints and managing to the upcoming releases that are coming. So again, in a hybrid environment, you may see a little bit of Scrum, a little bit of waterfall environments, but that is generally a lot of what we're seeing in the industry. Lots of organizations are hybrid at the moment, and that's only because they either haven't made the transition to become fully agile, and they do see the benefits of agile, right? As we know, it's nimble, it's flexible, provides a lot of benefits. But again, organizations have a difficult time, making that big jump. So I'll pause there to see if you guys have any questions for me, and then I can continue on. Okay, and then as I said, we'll look for some job positions to help you figure out which positions you guys may be looking for. So let's say if we are looking for a business analyst. Again, if you guys have any questions, sometimes when I'm doing the training, I'm not able to see the questions. If you can speak, that's awesome. If not, I can get back to your questions after the live session. So let's look at this one. They're looking for a healthcare business analyst. So what they're looking for is collaborating with stakeholders to gather, document business requirements and for system implementation projects, translating business requirements into functional. Okay, so this is telling me that this is fully waterfall, that they're not doing any agile activities here. So this is something that you should generally, if you're, if you are preparing for an interview, let's say for this position, then focus on the waterfall end-to-end scenario that will be the best approach for you. Okay, let's look at this one. 5 years applying analytical processes on IT projects and portfolios. Experience. Okay, here, so you guys see healthcare business analyst, but they're talking about experience and knowledge in Agile Scrum project methodology. They're talking about, let me make this bigger so it's a little bit easier for you to see. For business analyst role, minimum of 2 years of experience. For business analyst role, a project management PMP certification. For business analyst roles, a certified Scrum Master. So this tells me that they're hybrid, right? They're looking for somebody that has business analyst experience, and they also want to make sure that you have certifications and experience in the Agile Scrum methodology. So if you were to be applying for this role, I would highly suggest that you talk about, your business analyst and, slightly Scrum background, because it looks like this is going to be one of those hybrid roles that I just talked about. Okay. Let's say business analyst, this one. Okay, experience in Jira for writing requirements, user stories, and backlog management. Again, as I said, this is a business analyst role. They're still talking about Jira. They're talking about user stories, backlog management. This tells me that this is also going to be a hybrid role where if you were to be preparing for this interview, make sure that you're talking about, similar backgrounds. And I'll look at just one more, you guys. If you're watching this as a replay and you are applying for a job or prepping for an interview and you're not sure what environment it will be in, put it in the comments and I will review it for you and let you know which environment you should be interviewing for. So this is the last one I'll look at, and then we'll take some questions. If there's no questions, again, leave them in the comments for me and I'll get back to you. So this one is, okay, here again, business analyst. The resource will perform activities that are crucial to to the successful development and delivery of projects. Key responsibilities include analysis, documentation, cross-functional team interaction, Scrum, process adherence, and testing. So again, this tells me that this is going to be a hybrid approach. So I think we looked at 4 business analyst positions, and out of the 4, 3 are requesting some sort of a hybrid experience and approach. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's lots of organizations out there that are trying to transition, and they just are having a hard time just because it's hard to make that transition. In my experience, the companies that have an easier time making the transition are SaaS companies, right? Software as a service, because they have a need to be nimble and flexible and change quickly, as well as, some of like new organizations that are forming. So just because they are just starting out and haven't been doing development for many, many years, so it makes it easier for them to transition. Again, that's my experience, that's my opinion. Could not be the case, but at least that's what my understanding is. Okay, guys, I'll pause there to see if there's any questions. Let me know, and happy to answer any questions you guys may have. All right. Well, if there are no questions, thank you so much for your time here with me.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so my question is like I work as a project manager, so I mostly use the waterfall method, but like I don't have any PM certification, but I'm planning to get one. But the industry I'm working in is oil and gas, not software. I'm also planning to get like a CSM certification. Then I'm planning to apply for program management type of positions. I will also have an MBA, like when I'm doing an MBA right now, so I'm planning to apply for this program manager position maybe next year. But like most of the positions are looking for some experience already in the sector, right? So how to handle that? Though I will have some experience, but not in the software industry.
So if I understand correctly, you're working as a PM, but not in the IT industry. You're looking to go into program management within IT?
Yes.
So I would highly recommend, again, this is my opinion, if you are looking to transition into IT, it may serve you well to transition into IT first as a PM and then go into program management positions, because it will be really difficult, because IT projects are an animal in itself. If you don't have experience managing IT projects, I think you will have a more difficult time even getting a program manager position, as well as maintaining, that position long term. So if you're already a PM, it may be easier for you to transition into IT PM positions first. And
Then to program management.
Yeah, then program management. And I hate to say this, but degrees and certifications don't really help, right? What really helps is your experience. And that's what will take you far. So focus on getting that experience first.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Can you please help, question in the chat, can you please help how to start a BA who has a career gap? There's many ways that you can do this. What you need to do is figure out how to fill that gap on your resume. The hardest time that, again, we have a training program, so I'll leave a link in the comments for you to speak to one of our advisors. What you have to do is close that gap. Recruiters and hiring managers will not look at your resume if you have a gap. It's just it's unfortunate. I don't make the rules. That's just how the industry is. Lots of women, especially that I'm seeing, take a break to take care of kids, and then are having a hard time coming into the work environment. There's a few different ways you can do this. You can do some volunteer work to fill in that gap, but then that work has to align to what you're trying to get into. So there's a few things that we can do. I'll leave a comment for one of our advisors on the Facebook Live and on YouTube as well for you to connect with our advisors. But there's unfortunately, that's what you have to do, is fill that gap on your resume with a few different things. Another question. Hi, I'm from India with 10 years of experience in manufacturing. I now want to get into a BA role. However, I do not have an IT background. Will I need to learn programming languages or testing along with BA classes? No, you don't need to learn programming. You don't need to learn testing. So if you are going for a business analyst role, you have to make sure that the training program that you select, and this goes for you too, Rena, for your question on your career gap. If you guys are going for BA training courses, you have to find a program that will help you fill that gap and give you the experience that you need, right? There are a lot of BA training programs out there that just give you the theoretical knowledge. You will not pass the interview process with theoretical knowledge only. You need to have some hands-on experience. And that is the only way that you will do well in interviews, because reading textbooks will, along with degrees, will not help you do well in the interview process. So that's what I've discovered. I've been running my training program for about 5 years now. And the students that have successfully transitioned are those that have worked with me on like hands-on projects and can speak to the experience that they will bring to the table versus reiterating what the textbooks say. So that's, again, what I found is working.
Do you have any course that can bridge the gap that I was asking about between my project management and IT project management or program management? Do you offer any course for this?
For project management, not yet. I have promised my students that I've helped transition into business analysts and Scrum Master positions that I will be working on a project management course. So this is another plug to me to get started on that. But as of now, I don't have a project management course that's ready.
But like if I have a PMP and CSM certification, will it at least cover some of the gap?
Again, PMP and CSM and CBAP are like dime a dozen. I hate to say this only because I know how difficult it is to get those certifications. Those certifications are meaningless without experience. So, in my program, Business Analyst and Scrum Master, we do hands-on projects along with training. For the project management training that I will create, I want to do some hands-on projects as well, because as I said before, that's what will get you through the interview process. And so, like I said, I haven't created that yet. It's something that I want to, and will do pretty shortly here. So let's keep connected. And once I do have a program, then I'll give you the information.
Okay, I will send you a connection request in LinkedIn.
Thank you. Benaya, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yeah. Yep. Good evening from this end. So my question has to do with getting interviews for applications that I've been applying for. I've actually done a BA training course. I've been working in the oil and gas sector. Now recently in the manufacturing sector. But I haven't actually done any working as a BA, but I haven't done the course on BA. I've been applying for jobs since October last year. To be honest with you, I haven't gotten any call. I've not gotten any whatsoever call for interview or whatever. So is there anything that you think can be of help to possibly improve the likelihood of the chances of getting interviews for applications?
So there's two things that I will say, and this is a common problem for a lot of folks that are trying to get into this domain and are having a difficult time. The first thing is that your resume has to be on point. A lot of times I look at resumes and they're formatted poorly. They don't state what you're looking for. And this domain, business analyst, Scrum Master, project management are highly sought after domains. They pay well, there's upward mobility, and therefore there's a lot of competition. And so if you imagine hiring managers and recruiters looking at hundreds of resumes a day and yours isn't formatted correctly, it's not gonna go anywhere but trash, right? So the first thing is that your resume has to be formatted correctly, keyword enabled, and make sure that it's showcasing your experience as a business analyst, right? And so if those three things are not there on your resume, then you will not get any calls. The second thing is, even when you do get calls, you have to showcase your experience. And this is why when you select a BA training program or a Scrum Master training program, it becomes critical that you have and can showcase experience that you've done the role. So those are the two key things that will help you transition, or you're going to be stuck there, unfortunately.
So talking about structuring the resume to fit what's actually required, is there anything that you can do to help in seeing how this CV can be structured to suit what's actually required?
I am very limited on time, unfortunately, but if you can send an email to our support email address, and I can see if either myself or some of my team members can look at your resume and give you some feedback, but please expect a slow response. I've put my support email address in the chat. So we'll try to do the best we can, but time is really limited.
All right, thanks. I'll get the email address and I'll do you an email on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, I think I have one more question. Hi, what level of SQL, Python, or analytical knowledge is required? I see many roles in today's job market are requiring strong technical skills along with functional skills. What are your suggestions? I've been in the industry for 17 years. As I said, business analyst. I actually started as a junior business analyst, project lead, project manager, program manager. I don't know SQL. I don't know Python, right? So, and I didn't need any of those skills to do well in my job profiles. SQL I see is popping up a lot more. So, and SQL is not hard to learn. So go take a Udemy class, go do some hands-on exercises and learn SQL. However, with that said, the things that they're looking for on a job profile, if you meet 70% of the requirements and you can articulate your experience well, I keep saying this over and over again, you have to articulate your experience as a business analyst or a Scrum Master well, it's highly unlikely that they're not going to select you if you don't know Python. Python is not a skill set that you would need to be successful as a business analyst or Scrum Master anyway. So don't hold back on applying for positions just because you don't meet 100% of what they've listed as requirements. So in my opinion, Priyanka, learn SQL, but other than that, focus on showcasing your experience in the best way possible. Arena, can you start a new hands-on project for BA? We do this in my private training program, in the Facebook Live and YouTube channel. I can provide a link to our advisors and you can talk to them to make sure you're a right fit. We don't accept all students. We only want to work with students that we know we can help transition. So I can leave a link there and you can speak to the advisors. What domain, another question is, what domain are the projects in? In my program, we don't provide domain specific training. We train students on how to become an excellent business analyst and an excellent Scrum Master, because that's the core skill set that you need to succeed. The domain knowledge, what we do is make sure if you have already healthcare background, then we train you to position, your resume and your interview towards that. But what we do in the program is train you how to become an excellent business analyst and a Scrum Master, so you can display that experience extremely well. And then the last question I have is, will my previous experience in manufacturing sector as a product manager can be considered as a BA, or will I have to start as a fresher in BA? So no, I strongly believe that all the experience you have on your resume and in your background is going to be useful, and it's not throwaway work. Depends on what guidance and structure you have. So I would not say that you would need to start as a fresher, provided that you have the right training and experience moving forward in this realm, right? So the answer is no, you shouldn't have to start as a fresher, but again, it depends on the program and the work that you do to prep for those interviews. How long is a program? My program, it's a 3-month program, right? Materials, and then it will take you at least about 2-ish months to start interviewing. So overall, it's about a 5-ish month program. Okay. All right. Any other questions you guys have? I feel like this turned into like a sales pitch for my training program. I truly wanted to give you guys some background on the business analyst, Scrum Master, and the hybrid roles. If you have, as I said, if you're preparing for interviews, and if you have job descriptions and you want me to take a look at them and help you figure out like whether it's a traditional waterfall, traditional Scrum, or somewhere in the middle, which is a hybrid, put those job descriptions in the comments and I'll go through them and review them for you and give you some guidance. And with that said, thank you so much, everyone. I have not been doing lives for a little while. Personal life has been super busy, but I look forward to doing at least once weekly live sessions and connecting with you guys. So I will put in more topics. If you have topics you'd like me to cover, put them in our Facebook group as suggestions, and I will review them and do my best to cover those topics as well. Okay. This was awesome. Thank you so much for the interaction. I truly love the interaction. So thank you so much. And I will connect with you guys next week. Until next time, thank you so much, everyone. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.